Welcome back to the Scaredy Cat Guide, my friends. My name is Ginny, and today we are talking about Star Tours over in Disney's Hollywood Studios. If you're new here, this is the channel where we talk about Disney and anxiety, we talk about sensory issues, and really just anything that you might want to know if you're an anxious rider at Disney World, like me. I am not gonna lie to you guys, Star Tours is one of my least favorite attractions in Walt Disney World. That may come as no surprise. As you guys know, I am very claustrophobic, and this is a pretty traditional simulator ride. That being said, there are a lot of things that we need to talk about when it comes to sensory issues and scariness, and of course, that claustrophobia. So without further ado, let's dive into those details. This Star Wars experience contains enclosed spaces, some loud sound design, and quite a few perilous situations. On top of that, this attraction also contains a propensity for motion sickness, some flashing lights, and a very rough ride system. Now let's start off with the elephant in the room here, and that is the claustrophobia element. This classic simulator seats around 40 people, but don't be deceived, it absolutely still feels like a tight space, even though that capacity might seem pretty large. On top of this ride system being just a pretty small box, the seats are really crammed in there pretty close together, and without a lot of airflow, it can feel pretty stuffy and stale inside. Now, this is nothing new if you've ridden on other simulators, say at the mall or other places where you've got just an older model simulator. This is gonna feel pretty familiar. However, if you are like me and claustrophobia really gets your anxiety going, I would definitely look out for Star Tours. Now, moving right along, let's talk about these sensory elements here. We of course have some very loud sound design and flashing lights. This of course is very typical of other Star Wars rides, and if you've ridden Rise of the Resistance or Smuggler's Run right across the park, this is going to be pretty comparable when it comes to the noise level. Of course, we have blaster fire, we have explosions and shouting, and with all of this intensity, of course, we have some perilous situations that we will find ourselves in. Just like with the Star Wars movies, you'll find yourself in some pretty sticky situations. Of course, we all will come out safely and all right on the other side, but thematically, I could definitely see Star Tours being pretty intense, at least in a way that's comparable to the other Star Wars rides in the parks. Now, unsurprisingly, this simulator also can cause some motion sickness. This will probably come as no surprise, but you absolutely will have some rushing visuals on screen. There is, of course, that basic simulator motion, and with the limited airflow, it really can be a recipe for disaster if you are prone to motion sickness. And of course, I'll point out here that this simulator motion is not smooth by any means. This is an older attraction, and you're going over some pretty bumpy terrain on the ride itself, so the seat belts on this ride are very much needed. In fact, I felt so jerked around during this attraction that I was worried that my footage was going to come out completely unusable. So just be prepared if you are not a huge fan of super rough and bumpy rides, this one might be one to look out for. Now let's talk about that ride system. As I said before, Star Tours utilizes a classic simulator ride system that seats about 40 guests at a time. Now you and the other passengers will be seated in 5 rows of 8, so this is actually a great attraction if you have a very large party and you all want to sit together. As far as restraints go, you just have a basic seat belt that goes across your lap and clicks into place, and like I said before, they are very much needed because it's a bumpy ride. Now when it comes to the ride duration, Star Tours actually clocks in at 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Now perhaps the most interesting part of this attraction is that you can get a different experience every time you ride. This attraction actually uses various segments that mix and match, giving you hundreds of possible ride combinations. You really don't know which story you're gonna get, which path it's going to take, and it absolutely adds to the fun of this experience. However, if you are somebody that really likes to know exactly what you're getting before you hop on, this is a tricky one to really prepare for. That being said, even though there are many combinations for the way that this could go thematically, every ride does clock in at the same 4 minutes and 30 seconds each time. And now that you have all the facts, let's actually go hop in line. I am not super excited, but we're gonna do this together. We will get through this, so let's do it. You'll find the entrance to this attraction in the Echo Lake section of Hollywood Studios. When it comes to other Star Wars attractions, this one is definitely the least popular. It's the oldest, and it's also not situated in Galaxy's Edge with the rest of the Star Wars attractions. However, if you're just looking for something to fill the time, it's a great one to just walk right onto and you'll be in and out very quickly. Now, once entering the queue, there's this very short little segment where you can see these awesome trees, some AT-ATs, and honestly, it's really a pity you move on so quickly because before you know it, you'll find yourself inside where the rest of the queue takes place. Now, lucky for you, there is AC inside, and so this is a pretty comfortable queue to be in, at least if you ask me. Now, inside, you'll see some more awesome theming, and even though this is an older ride, I feel like the queue is really not all that dated when it comes to its theming. You'll see some cool screens that are advertising the many voyages that you could take with Star Tours. We, of course, have some animatronics in the queue. You'll see C-3PO and R2, and even some other little characters that you may or may not recognize from the films. Now, this queue really consists mostly of these long, very well-themed hallways. It really is very straightforward. You'll just make your way past these show scenes until you find a cast member who will sort you into your lanes. Now, like I said, these simulators do have a pretty high seating capacity, so you will end up in line with around 40 people and patiently wait for the doors to open so you can enter the simulator. Now, once those doors do swing open, you will make your way forward and find your seat. Again, the ride restraints are pretty simplistic. It's just a seat belt that goes across your lap, and once everybody is buckled in, you will prepare to embark. Now, even though these story beats for this ride can be different every single time you ride it, the narrative for Star Tours does follow the same basic path. Basically, you are a tourist who is supposed to head off on this lovely galactic vacation, but are unfortunately intercepted before you can reach your destination. You will find yourself caught up in the crossfire, quite literally, and end up having to evade the bad guys and maybe even save the day. Regardless of which path you experience here, you of course will come out a-okay on the other side, and there we have it. What do you think about Star Tours? If you can get past some of the thematic intensity or the sensory elements and of course the claustrophobia, it really can be a pretty fun time. Now for me, that's not always the case. Some days it's really fun and I enjoy it, and other days it's just the perfect cocktail to get my anxiety stoked up. All of the anxiety factors combined with the motion sickness could definitely put a damper on the rest of your Disney day. Now, as always, if you liked this ride review and would like to see more like it, don't forget to like, subscribe, stick around, stay a while. We would love to have you in our little community of anxious riders. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.